Going on, guys? Black Scout Survival Late Night Live. Thanks for watching. And let's start off with showing you what the state of America is right now. I'm going to give you a snapshot, kind of where we're at. And here we go. Dang, is it going to play? Let me remove it and hook it up again. It's weird because it just played a second ago. Now we're on air and it's not playing. Yeah, go figure, huh? So anyway, this was supposed to be funny. I don't know why it's not playing. Anyhow, this dude is asking these two masked dog dudes to do commands. He tells the one guy to do a command. He's like, bark, and the guy's like, roof. And the guy like snatches the collar and is like, no. And then he's like, you want a treat? And the guy says no. But it's just like, this dog mask is the same ones we saw about a month ago or so with the Army colonel wearing one and in uniform. This is where we're at. Walk around on the street like this. People are doing this, and this is where America's at. This is what our forefathers fought for. Could you imagine what our forefathers think right now with this going on? The thing is that, like, all the time, we talk about preparations, planning, and people think nothing will ever happen. YouTube probably stopped me from playing that video, by the way, but nothing will ever happen. But look at South Africa right now. Stockpile food and water. South Africa faces civil war conditions if the power grid collapses. People are advised to have 72 hours food and water, rolling 12-hour blackouts, leading to more chaos. So this could happen anywhere. That's why it's always important to be prepared. People take preparation lightly. They think you're paranoid, prepper, this and that, all these sort of things. It's good to be prepared because you never know what can happen. And chaos can happen anywhere. Remember the 2020 riots. Anyhow, this actually is not something, I guess, new. This came out in 2020. I was unaware of it. I'd heard not exactly this name, but a few days ago, it's been recirculating. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I did some digging and found a bunch of information about it. It's something called luciferase. Okay, luciferase. And as you know, Lucifer is also known as Satan, mentioned in the Bible in Isaiah 14:12. And Lucifer meant like light bearer, is what it means in Latin. So Luciferase, and you're going to understand why this is important and why this is very spooky. Let me. So luciferase, and this is Wikipedia, is a generic term for the class of oxidative enzymes to produce bioluminescence and usually distinguished from photoprotein, blah, 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 blah. So it's used as a marker or as a reporter gene. It's something that is actually comes from fireflies or click beetles. So it's what makes them glow, phosphorus, right? And so if we look at the applications here, they can use it to mark like cells in the body so they can see, as a what they call a reporter, so they can look at, if there's like a cancer or something like that, something they want to study, they can look at it, but it can also be used to, like, as an ink. Okay, we're going to get to that. But the reason why, here, I'll pull up Science Direct real quick. An overview, show you an overview of it real quick. Fusion protein. So it talked about image studies using as a reporter gene in rats. And so what it will show, they show photos of it if you go to that chapter of the book, and it'll show like the imaging of a rat. It can be used as a tracking for biological systems. It can be used intracellular signaling. and you name it. Marker reporter enzymes. Let me see. So here we go. So you can see here it's just evident in the rats here. So they used it to test with, and you can see through looking through thermal, they can see this stuff. Okay. So you may think right now, like, why is this important? Well, this was actually patented by the U.S. government, uh, Department of Homeland Security, and it was. Let me get it up real quick. Actually, let me pull it back up. So it was patented in January 2nd, 2020, by Homeland Security. That why does that time frame ring a bell, right? So I'll pull up the patent for you. I'll show you an image real quick too. But here's the patent here, U.S. patent application. And I would say go look at this if you have time. U.S. government of the United States of America, represented by the Secretary of Homeland Security. This has filed 16/2019, but was granted January 2nd, 2020. So it talks about, a lot of different things, a lot of different applications, a description of it. It's something that, if you got time to scroll through, and here is a snapshot of it too, if you want to see it right there. So filed on September 16th, 2019, and I think it was granted on January 2nd, 2020. But weird time frame, right? And I know that's like, it could be anything, but yeah, just too many things are falling in line here, right? So it can be used they used it. Now the NIH used it, and I'll pull that up too. Fauci, they used it to actually track movement of the COVID-19 as a marker reporter on the website there. So this is from the NIH. Luciferase-based biosensors in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so what they would do here, as you can see, they would put this luminescent luciferase to track the virus. Okay. So biosensors are tools employed in molecular biology that allow the measurement of biological phenomenon. Historically, biosensors have been used to interrogate protein-to-protein interactions, but a wide breadth of applications has evolved beyond this over decades, including disease diagnosis and monitoring, as well as vivo imaging. So this is just one application that they used it for. And again, this is on the NIH website, but to track movement. And they also used it for, cancer. That's what they said they're going to maybe use it for, is tracking cancer. But one interesting thing here we go. So Hep B, different viruses. So it gives off a light. So easier to see, easier to track. And so why they're calling it a marker. So think about chem light to mark something, all you military guys. So again, these are all, I'll try to put all these websites down. I think this is something you should go in and look in for yourself. I think it's pretty crazy. But Paleo Greenberg says, thanks for taking the time to show us some of the stuff we should be paying attention to that we might be overlooking. It's hard to track it. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, man, I tell you, this is like something that I had not really heard of. So it's very interesting. But I think it's interesting to know these things, because I'm going to get towards the end of this and why it kind of blew my mind. So this is where the mind starts getting blown. This is from Scientific American magazine. Invisible ink could reveal whether kids have been vaccinated. So you see these needles that go in the hand here. Okay, so this is actually something that came up with by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and it's something that cannot be seen with the naked eye. It's invisible, and you can mark basically a history or what have you. But they're saying, especially in developing countries where medical records may not be as complete or as accessible, this is something you can have information directly associated with that person. So the person's walking around with this mark. And microneedles are embedded in a band-aid like device that is placed on the skin. So the skilled nurse or technician is not required. And they can, basically track it with these things called quantum dots. So you can see here, this is a close-up image of it here. So people, obviously, there were concerns about patients being tattooed, carrying around personal medical information on their bodies, right? So that's always the thing. Like, why would you want to walk around with like a tattoo on your hand? But if you can't see it, how many people would be more likely to get it if you can't see it with your naked eye? Most people think it's probably cool that I can glow in the dark if you show a UV light on me or something like that. So you won't have any kind of visible scar or anything like that. Nothing's there, because that's what they're saying here. But obviously, we don't want to give people a scar. But they're looking for an identifier that will be invisible to the naked eye. So here is the quantum dots after being administered to the skin of rodents. So you see it glows. This work was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and came about because of direct from Microsoft founder and philanthropist Bill Gates himself, who has been supporting efforts to wipe out diseases and polio and measles across the world. So again, this is where, when I first seen this, it kind of like a light switch, like something I'd never thought of before. Okay. So we have ability to mark people without them ever knowing they'd be marked. And again, they're using the name luciferase, right? They're not even hiding it anymore. they're telling you directly to your face what this is, right? So medical ID. So a lot of people, question mark of the beast, and that always been my question. Like I'm like, even non-Christians aren't going to go get a tattoo on their head or their hand. I'm like, there's no way. But then when I saw this the other day, a few days ago, this lady that I follow, she was talking about it, and I never heard of it. I said, well, that could be on something, because if it's not visible, and you see how polarized and split the country is, how many people would be willing to go take something to show their allegiance to their side? Many people would. And so when we talk about speculation of mark of the beast, now I'm not saying that this is going to be the mark of the beast. I'm only speculating as a theory. I want to get your opinion of it. But it was a probable thing, or it could be something completely else that we don't even know that may not even exist yet. But I just thought that this would be something that could be very likely. And people have speculated a lot of things about what is the mark of the beast. I'm going to pull up Got Questions and talk about that just for a moment. But and why would anybody take the mark of the beast? So what is the mark of the beast? And talk about this. Obviously, the mark of the beast is basically placed on your hand or your forehead. It's not a card someone carries. It's an actual literal mark. Okay, for the false prophet. So the recent breakthroughs in medical implant chip and RFID technologies have increased the interest in the mark of the beast spoken of in Revelation chapter 13. Even non-Christians will talk about this because of the technology. Things that were written down in the Bible thousands of years ago are coming, are happening. So people that are not even Christians are like being, hold on, man, this doesn't sound good. So it goes on here. Is it possible that the technology we're seeing today represents the beginning stages of what would eventually be the mark of the beast? It's important to realize that a medical implant chip is not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast will be something given only to those who worship the Antichrist. Having a financial microchip inserted into your right hand or forehead is not the mark of the beast. They're saying that, but the problem with, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because the mark of the beast will keep you from buying or selling something. So I do think it will be tied to financial things. So It will be the end times identification required by the Antichrist in order to buy or sell, and it will be given to only those who will worship the Antichrist. And worship could be various different levels. It's not like maybe getting on your knees and worshiping. I mean, some people worship these politicians, elites. People worship Kim Kardashian. So the level of worship could be not exactly what I guess you would think, in my opinion. So there's been speculations that, like it goes on here, that it could be an ID card, a microchip, barcode, or simply a mark that someone is being faithful to the Antichrist kingdom, right? But what we do know is that the 666 is part of it, but that's a mystery as well. Some speculated that there was connection between June 6, 2006. However, in Revelation chapter 13, the number 666 identifies a person, not a date. Revelation 13:18 tells us that the call for wisdom, if anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is a man's number. His number is 666. Somehow the number 666 will identify the Antichrist. For centuries, Bible interpreters have been trying to identify certain individuals as 666. None of them are conclusive. That is why Revelation 13:18 says that the number requires wisdom. When the Antichrist is revealed, it will be clear who he is by the number that identifies him. Okay, so we do know that the mark will be an allegiance to the Antichrist. Okay, and you may say, well, why would anybody take the mark of the beast? Well, there's a good reason. The thing we said, buy or sell. So this is David Jeremiah, trustworthy guy. And he goes on to say, why would anyone agree to take the mark of the beast that has evil implications? Even people who never read the Bible are generally uneasy with the number 666 because of the press it receives. Films and novels use it to invoke terror and mystery. Some even make jokes about the mark, but Satan's demonic activity is no laughing matter. So why in the world would anyone accept this mark during tribulation? To answer the question, we must understand the power and persuasion of the Antichrist. Let's examine how the mark will be implemented. Satan will empower a false prophet to deceive people into accepting the mark. So someone will come into power who will deceive people into taking the mark. So they will be deceived to take the mark. So tricked, obviously. Refusing the mark will lead to financial ruin. You won't be able to buy or sell. Your money will be worthless, right? How often do you buy and sell? Probably a few times a day, right? Or maybe not sell, but you buy things all day. And maybe sell would be maybe earning money through work. Maybe you won't be able to work and earn money for this. Satan will empower a false prophet to deceive people, right? Many Christians are surprised to learn that the mark of the beast will not be implemented personally by the Antichrist. So the Antichrist himself will not do it. The beast that arises from the sea, later in the same chapter, John explains that the mark will be initiated by the second beast, the beast coming up from the earth, or coming out of the earth, who is later identified as the false prophet. So basically, he's the hype man for the Antichrist. Okay. So the implementer of the mark, he will be acting on the authority that comes from higher up. He exercises all authority of the first beast, and where it does the first beast, Antichrist gets his power. The dragon, Satan, gave him his power, his throne, and the great authority. Satan himself will instigate it in a terrible, evil tribulation period with Antichrist and false prophet. So, scrolling down here, refusing the mark will lead to financial ruin. It tells us in Revelation 13:17 that the mark will do on a day-to-day basis. No one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the name of a number of his name. Only those who have the mark of the Antichrist's name or his number identifying them as his followers will be able to sell goods and services, support themselves, and secure what they need. Anyone refusing to wear the mark will struggle to survive. So it's evident you will probably starve to death. Your money's no good. You won't be shopping, barred from employment, right? What does this sound like? This almost sounds like something that happened 2 years ago, right? You couldn't work, you couldn't maybe attend things, couldn't go into stores. So how easy was it that to happen? So people, maybe speculate, well, it's so far fetched. Well, it wasn't far fetched, 2 years ago, right? For much less, much less. It's almost like that was an exercise for the real deal, you know. So, given our modern financial system, it's hard to imagine a scenario in which Christians are shut out like this. But the Bible is clear that Satan's intent is not only to keep them from means of survival, but also force them to decision. Will they continue to stand for Christ, refusing the mark, or despite the hardship promised, or will they succumb to the loyalty demands of Satan? I mean, I don't think it's far off. He's saying he thinks it's hard to imagine that scenario. I don't think it's hard to imagine that scenario. I think it's we're so. I mean, it feels like from what's been happening, we're we're closer to it than we've ever been. It could be 1,000 years from now, but what we've seen in the past few years, I mean, the polarization, the use of things, people getting fired, military getting discharged. You can't go into a store; they're not allowing you to work. I remember my buddy up there from my Anarchy Tattoo in New York would send videos of me with the cops harassing him by him trying to keep his business open, to stay alive. I mean, this is a type of persecution that a lot of people received, and this was not even Christian based, faith based persecution, but people were receiving it. So, is it that far off? And that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people. Sorry, let me hit some of these super chats. I don't want to lose you guys. A lot of people will take it if they can't buy anything. Absolutely, you're going to starve to death. Thank you, push through life, and thank you, Kathy. Let me see the next guy. Soronex, love your work, and the Bible says people choose either the mark of God or martyrdom or the mark of the beast. They're forcing, yeah. So, do you think it's that far off? No, I mean we saw it happening. I think a lot of people, in the world, and a lot of my followers may not be Christians or followers of Christ. But the thing is this, man, is that the things you see that's happening now or that has happened is very reminiscent of what the Bible says. So even if you're not a follower, I mean, you should be very aware, right? And with these technologies, I mean, we're seeing these technologies, they're even stating the obvious that I've thought my whole life, ever since I was a little kid. I've been going to church my whole life. And I've always thought nobody's going to get a tattoo on their hand or their forehead. That was the most, no one's doing that. But if you're doing it for another reason, oh, well, you got to buy and sell, and you can't even see it. Yeah, sure, give it to me. I mean, to me, that was the most mind blowing uh, epiphany this week that I saw. So it's I would like to know your thoughts. Like I said, a lot of times I just want to present things that I find because they are very interesting to me, and it really opened up another chapter of where this could go. But I don't want to speculate too much because obviously the Bible tells us not to do that. I don't want to be out here, making predictions of anything because I'm just a human being just like you guys. But I think that us seeing this, the usage of this technology, the name luciferase, that is potential. And if you're not a Christian, you're not saved, maybe you should look into it, is all I'm going to say. Right. And I don't make any money for that. So if you're not a Christian, I would definitely maybe look into it. Maybe just read a little bit yourself, see where your heart is. But I definitely would think that something like this, and I just showed you all these documents about how uh, they they want to use this technology. It seems like it could be a likely scenario. The state of the country, the polarization, people willing to die for the ideology of their political preference. You know what I mean? They're so in worshiping political leaders or political ideology. It's I think it feels very close. We got wars and rumors of wars. I mean, that's happening. Um, you know, Another thing too, and I probably want to touch on this at another date, but the Marine Corps is actually completely restructuring the way they do business. Basically, they're the British Royal Marines, the Army Rangers, and the Marine Corps are descendants pretty much of the British Royal Marine Commandos. Rangers pretty much held truer to the mission capability. However, Marine Corps went off and kind of did their own thing. However, they're now moving back more towards a commando fighting system, so tactical system. So the Marine Corps is now structuring more like they're going to be commando units. Now, I think it's a great thing. A lot of Marines are upset about it, but I think it's actually a brilliant thing to do. You're going to have more highly trained Marines capable of doing more things in small units. And the whole reason they're doing that is because of war with China, potential war with China. That's the whole reason why they're doing this. So at least the Marine Corps is actually doing something for this, because that we talked about the Air Force general that said something a few weeks ago, and the DoD is immediately, no, we don't have anything to do with this guy. He's talking off his rocker. Well, the Marine Corps, they listen to that Air Force general. They're restructuring everything. They're turning into a commando unit. Marines will now operate as commandos. So more light infantry, stuff like that, which is great. I think it's needed. But again, wars and rumors of wars, we have just corruption, all these sort of things. So anyhow, look into it if you take what I said tonight, if this doesn't like put a little interest in your mind, hopefully something else does, because yeah, it's worrisome. But I'd like to know your thoughts about it. Obviously, like I said, I don't want to speculate on these sort of things because we're commanded not to. However, it's hard not to, right? Anyhow, let me know your comments, your thoughts in the comments below. And we did another video. It's 2 videos today, right? The second video today. Crazy. So go check out the other video if you didn't watch it, about NMN. They're stopping us from the anti-aging, where you can't handle your health yourself, because if you're healthy, you're no longer a customer. Go check out that video as well. Comment on all of them to help me out too, because we obviously been hit with the shadow ban, demonetization, all those sort of things lately. And anyhow, guys, as always, remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, and stay dangerous, and don't get any marks. Okay, take care.